Speaker, but clearly we want to make sure that everyone plays by the rules. Thank you.
Bear them words in mind as we go through this video. As Tory MP for West Bromwich West, Shaun Bailey's talking about morals and fair play and all that nonsense. But more about him later. Anyway, hello there, I do hope you're all well. And does these bits of points of order prove that our Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, is no different to our Spaffer Johnson, just a complete liar? Well, in this first clip, Keir Starmer brought up the situation about the lack of affordable housing, and our Prime Minister brought up our Spaffer for whatever reason.
Along comes the Prime Minister and merrily tells them, sorry for crashing the economy. We don't want to talk about that. Sorry, I can't help you with the house building, but my councillors don't like it. Oh, and before I go, here's a massive council tax increase for your troubles. Why doesn't he stop the excuses, stop blaming everyone else, and just build some houses instead?
Mr. Speaker, our memories on that short. We all know what happened last time when they were in power. There was no money left for the country.
That old chestnut. Look at our Leaky Sue. She looks like she's just going to shat herself, doesn't she? She looks like she's just going to drop one massive big dead otter, doesn't she? Everyone knows that, as a long-standing tradition with changing parties, they always do that. Leave a note, something like that. And also, Rishi, when it comes to the leader of the opposition, he's also using this as a bit of a joke to attack you and your government. Clearly shows that it doesn't really work anymore, Prime Minister. I think it's time to give it up.
But let's talk about the record. Let's talk about the Labour record on house building, Mr. Speaker. In London, the former Conservative mayor built 60,000 affordable homes in his first 5 years in office. How many did the current Labour mayor manage? Half of that, Mr. Speaker.
That's it, dishy fishy, Rishi Sunak. That's shown our Sir Keir and that useless mayor of his. He'll rue the day that he ever tried to stand on your expensive loafers there. 3 cheers for our glorious leaders, guys. Hip hip. Hip hip. Come on, guys. Where's your emotions? Put some feeling into it. But anyway, point of order, Dawn Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Member for East Ham asked the Prime Minister to correct the record as he misled the House last week. Mr. Speaker, the Prime...
We don't say that. Unintentionally misled. Or inadvertently.
Okay. Inadvertently, unintentionally misled the House last week. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has inadvertently, unfortunately, misled the House this week when he claimed that the Tory Prime Minister built more house than the current Labour mayor. Official statistics are not open to interpretation. Last year, the number of new homes in London was up 22% compared to the Tory mayor's final year. More than 23,000 new City Hall-funded council homes have been started since 2018, more than 10,000 in the last year alone. Latest figures, Mr. Speaker, show London has started more than double the number of council homes last year than the whole of the rest of England, and Sadiq, the Labour Mayor of London, has delivered more than 10 times that of the previous Tory Mayor.
Oh, Lindsay I'll talk about sounding unhinged, eh? Wouldn't have got much further if that had been me, because I'd have just said, sorry, I'm just going to call it for what it is. Prime Minister is a massive liar, and then I'd have just walked the shame before I'd have had the chance to finish my question.
Please, I think I got the message, and I do need to reply. No, let me reply. It might be helpful to us all. Look, I'm obviously grateful for the Member giving notice to the point of order. She will know that the chair is not responsible for Minister's answers. If an error has been made, then it should be corrected. And I make that very clear. It is not for the Speaker to determine whether the error has been made. What I would say is, and quite rightly, the Honourable Member has given us a very fruitful line that has ensured that that point has been made correctly.
What a shocker, eh? RPM is spreading disinformation. Who knew? Surely he won't do it again when it comes to our Stephen Flynn's question about our young people's education.
Mr. Speaker, for the avoidance of any doubt, the Liberal Democrats don't believe in abolishing tuition fees. The Conservatives don't believe in abolishing tuition fees, and of course the Labour Party, now with their own Nick Clegg moment, don't believe in abolishing tuition fees either. But, Mr. Speaker, is it not the case that the main Westminster parties don't offer young people any hope at all, do they?
actually, I'll gently point out to the honourable gentleman that if you're from a disadvantaged background, you're far more likely to go to university in England than you are in Scotland.
And look at our Suella Blabbermouth's face, looking very pleased for herself, isn't she? I usually look like that after I've dropped an almighty massive big whiffy and I see somebody who's looking at me holding the nose and I'll just say, yeah, that was me. But hey, that's a statement everyone should get up behind. After 13 years of fantastic Tory austerity and cruelty, our education is now the envy of Great Britain, and your young people up in Scotland are now desperately clambering over the border to sample it, aren't you? Go Rishi, go Rishi, go Rishi. Point of order, Marion Fellows.
And therefore, I will now move on to the next point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Forgive my eagerness. I've never done this before, but I believe that today at Prime Minister's questions, the Prime Minister inadvertently, unintentionally misled the House on the question of disadvantaged children in Scotland going to universities. The figures he uses are simply the UCAS applications directly from school. In Scotland, as I well know as a former further education lecturer, most disadvantaged children and adults go through the college route, whereby they can do an HNC, HND, move into first, second or third year of a university course, or join an access to higher education course at any time.
Sorry for laughing, just chuckling at whoever said me, moi. I was just thinking, what's with you? But it did, it just made me chuckle.
Can I just say, I think it's exactly what I've said to the previous member. Obviously, I'm grateful for giving notice. I'm not the one that makes a determination. What I would say is, you put it on the record, you've certainly corrected. And as I will say again, if an error has been made, I expect it to be corrected. And it's certainly now on the order page.
Now, I don't know enough about Scottish politics, but I would believe someone who has worked as an education lecturer more than someone who chooses not to know what his wife gets up to, and her family either. But shock, horror, more disinformation? But anyway, surely not. Mr. Integrity, professionalism and accountability wouldn't try to fiddle the crime statistics. Surely not.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank our police forces, who I know will be working hard across the country this weekend to support the coronation events. But police numbers in the North East are down 8% since 2010, and I know the Prime Minister's keen on his maths, so here's a sum. If Northumberland Police has lost 1,000 police officers since 2010, but gained the funding to put back 615, by how much have the Conservatives shortchanged the North East?
So, Mr. Speaker, as we saw last week, there are now a record number of police officers across the country thanks to the actions of this government, and crime is 50% lower than it was when we took office.
There you see, 50% lower. Our shifty Sunak isn't as shifty as everyone says. Well, thank you for clearing up our streets. And by the way, I don't know what Oliver Dowden is thinking, but evil things are hatching in his head. He looks very unsavoury, doesn't he? But all hail to our honest and truthful Prime Minister. Point of order, Yvette Cooper.
Point of order, Shadow Home Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister, during Prime Minister's questions, used a figure for crime which didn't include fraud, even though it is the fastest increasing crime and has been one of the most prevalent and damaging crimes. He has been repeatedly challenged on this before, but again used the figure without fraud, and to do so on the day in which he supposedly launches a fraud strategy. Doesn't this show that the government's fraud strategy is actually a total fraud and a con? And does he think the Prime Minister will be ready to correct the record?
I think I've already answered that, but actually I think we've got an itching minister who wants to respond. Tom Tugendar.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for allowing me to correct the record. The fact is that we weren't counting fraud in 2010 when we took over the government, and so it was very difficult to draw the comparisons from before. What we've seen since then, though, is a record number of police officers who are solving crimes. We've seen car crime down 22% since 2019 and neighbourhood crime, community crime, down 50%. This is a success for the government.
What? Tories massaging the data again, Yvette Cooper? You do surprise me. I am stunned. See, Tom Dugan had to jump up like an excited teenager to tell his mates that last night he kissed a girl. For the first time. On the lips as well. And no, it wasn't his mother either. That's what he looked like. I'm just, we got all a giddy. They always seem to cite these statistics the wrong way around, don't they? You know, if they make a complete mess of something, you know, maybe like Brexit or the economy, that's because of COVID and that war in Ukraine. You know, but when it comes to crime statistics that went down from 2019, you know, not long after how long we had been in lockdown, not been able to leave our homes. I don't know about you, but something stirring within me is saying I'm very much sure that crime would go down, wouldn't it, after that? But of course, that's nothing to do with COVID, is it? It's something to do with what these clowns have done, whatever it is. But anyway, I can hear you all saying, but DB, what about our poor victim, Shaun Bailey? What heinous crime has he suffered that is so scandalous? It would make Beergate and the latest Sue Gray investigation look like a walk in the park that would destroy any reputation of any party opposite. We'll sit down and I'll let our devastated Shaun Bailey tell you all about the sad tale. Brace yourself and spare a thought for our Shaun Bailey.
Shaun Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I get what time of year it is. I know we all know the game, but the importance of sticking to the courtesies of this place outside of this chamber are important. The Honourable Member for Birmingham Edgbaston has now appeared in my patch twice over the last 2 days without giving me any notice. I made her aware yesterday of my intention to raise this point of order. She's not even deigned to respond to that in any way, shape or form, and I forwarded that notification to your office this morning. Mr. Speaker, I can anticipate what your response will probably be, and I appreciate that, but can you perhaps, for the courtesy of members in this House, restate the expectation of members when they're attending other people's constituencies in their capacities as members of Parliament? And just to finish by saying, we're a very welcoming place, Mr. Speaker, but clearly we want to make sure that everyone plays by the rules. Thank you.
They've got some front out there. Courtesies of this place. What planet is he on? Yes, the crime of the century that will clearly topple any political parties that Labour MP for Birmingham Edgbaston, Preet Kaur Gill, sorry if I butchered it, it's either one or the other in it, wandered into his patch without telling him. Clearly not welcoming enough is that place then, is it? Now I saved you any more pain of listening to Lindsay Hoyle because he didn't say anything really of interest like as he said, but he didn't really say why she was there, and for all he knew it could have been personal. And the thing is, as he didn't really give any evidence to the contrary, did he? But Shaun talks about courtesy of this House and playing by the rules, while his leader, the Prime Minister, let's be honest, isn't playing by the rules either, is he? Yeah, that's politics, I suppose, and yeah, nothing unusual. But I just find the whole thing a bit childish, playing the victim while, you know, crying wolf, while your party's also in the chicken coop, you know, causing all sorts of havoc. Can't be both ways, can you? Anyway, what do you guys think? Very interesting yesterday. I don't normally do PMQs, but I just found the points of order fascinating. What do you guys think? Let me know down below, and you know, until the next time, I shall bid you farewell and take care, my friends.